Hello, and welcome to another episode of Scavenger Life. This is episode number 237 at scavengerlife.com. Hi, Jay. How are you?
Hi, welcome to Trash Shelf Radio.
Trash Shelf Nation. Trash Shelf University.
Okay, man, when we start these podcasts, I really feel like it's going to be a whole thing. It really is.
It is a whole thing.
Let's get ready to podcast! Okay.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's go.
We've a lot to talk about.
Yes.
But, as we always say, we hope that our chatting like this for an extensive period of time will keep you company while you're photographing and listing and packing right now.
And I hope packing is annoying, because that means you made money. Right? Am I right?
Yeah, I'm right. Okay, so what we did this past week. Number one is, we actually went kind of scavenging one day. We kind of spent part of the day, we went and scavenged.
Yep.
And we ended up finding something for ourselves.
Yes, so there's this one place that we go to that often they clean out estates. So they'll have house stuff, and they had a bunch of rugs. And one of them was wool. Only one of them.
Yep. And we, of course, found that one.
Yes. And we bought it, and it was actually the cheapest one. And
it was only $85.
It was $85. It's room size. It's like
8 by 11.
It's 8 by 11. It's huge.
Yep.
And I was like, we gotta get it. Let's get it. And then, of course, I get it home to vacuum it. Like, I laid it out on the back deck. And there's, like, a big stain on one part.
Like, it was definitely probably in a family home. There's, like, a big pink stain.
Pink, like,
it's not that bad
stain.
because there's, like, a pattern on it. But anyway, it's that's always a fun thing about scavenging is we can upgrade our lives for cheap. So this is actually not an antique rug. It's, it's a contemporary wool rug. And even had a tag, a scanner, so we can scan it. It's $1,000 rug.
It's $1,000 on Amazon or Wayfair or whatever.
And that's pretty typical in our house. Most of the stuff in our house is like the scratch and dent stuff. The stuff that we can't really sell on eBay or wouldn't get a good price, but it's good quality. But there's always like a little bit of a thing to it. Yeah. And we don't mind that.
No, and it replaced a rug that we bought on Craigslist for $100 that I'm trying to sell for $200. Local pickup, so hopefully someone will want that.
So we're kind of upgrading our environment, and since we work at home and we live here all the time, I mean, it's
gotta be nice-ish.
It's nice to update it. I'm standing on it.
Yeah, I really love it.
Sitting on this rug right now, and
I'm sure you guys will see a picture in the post this week.
It makes my life more enjoyable.
Yes, and it was cheap.
And we did find some stuff to sell as well. Like we said, we've been really digging into our backlog, our death piles, and we just have not really done much active scavenging. We just kind of scavenge as we go. Like, I found some cool stainless steel silverware yesterday for $0.25 a piece, and I got 14 pieces, and it's this really cool, like, mid-century like silverware. It's so awesome. Yeah,
it's really awesome. And we were seeing prices online for $5 a piece. So we added it up, and it's about $90 if we sell it kind of like the forks together, the spoons together, the serving spoons.
But we do scavenge a little bit still for right now, and it's always exciting. I always love
it's fun.
I always love the process.
And you know what? I am like the most skeptical scavenger, too, and other people have talked about this. Like, I'll go into a store, and I'll be like, there's nothing in here. And we always, it's rare that we don't find one thing, you know?
I'm just amazed at how much stuff we had kind of hidden away, because I keep thinking we're going to be done. There's still more, and we keep making money from it. I mean, it's just like, it's like we have all this, it's not free inventory, but it's stuff we forgot about. Right. Those costs are already sunk. Yeah. So, but it's all here, and it's like it's just amazing what you can make a living on.
Well, like this morning, just as a tiny example, I had listed a bunch of stuff this week of like smalls. So it was this big box of like keychains, old matchbooks. I'm like, oh god. But
stuff I had to take pictures of.
Yeah, you had to, and write down descriptions and measure. But someone bought this little keychain. It's an Eddie Bauer leather and brass keychain for $15. who buys a keychain for $15? I mean, I priced it like that, but
somebody must. But I mean, we couldn't have gotten it for more than a quarter.
It's just incredible.
It's awesome.
Okay, so we said the other week that Bonanza was going crazy.
For the past 2 weeks or so, it was doing really good. It's dropped off this week.
So Bonanza sent us an email, and some people had said they had gotten this email too, that they sent us like turbo traffic, which means they were like upping your traffic so you could see what it's like for certain subscription services with them, because I'm just on the free subscription. And, if you do the numbers, look, we made $400 that week. Is it worth it for, paying more for a subscription?
I think it's 40. I think at the subscription level they want you to sign up for, I think it's $40
a month.
A month. And I guess the question is like, if you paid $40 a month, would we be guaranteed $400
right
in sales?
Right,
I mean,
that's the question.
And it is interesting that everyone, or not everyone, there are people that have these conspiracy theories about eBay, about they limit your exposure and traffic throttling. I guess Bonanza's like, we absolutely throttle.
Yeah, they do.
Like, you pay us more, we will open up your listings. I don't know if it means like they're advertising for you more, or if
they're bringing yours up more.
It's hard to know.
So here's my conspiracy theory, right? So because it was on the smaller Bonanza store, because we have 2 Bonanza stores that mirror our eBay stores, we made so much on that store, and the eBay store of the same items made almost nothing. I'm thinking, is it because so many items got ended on eBay that eBay was like, you're ending all these items? Like, that brought our traffic down on eBay?
Nope.
Because it was weird.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought that was weird.
That's a conspiracy.
It is a conspiracy, I know.
So, but like Kate was talking about on the blog, and I totally concur. It's kind of a weird business model, though. You would think that Bonanza would just want everyone to be selling all the time and make their money from final value fees versus making money by subscriptions. But I don't know, it's just a different business model.
It's like, send me all that traffic anyway, because you'll be getting paid and I'll be getting paid.
If anyone from that company can hear us, we would love to know the answer.
I would love to know.
I mean, help make the argument, and convince me to pay $40
a month. So I was listing yesterday on the second smaller store, and I got on eBay. And I got that pop-up message again that was like, try the new Seller Hub. And I was like, cool, I'm going to do it because I just want to see what it's about. I haven't looked at like any of the stats or any of the whatever. The listing page looks different and your active listings look different. But it's all the same information. Like, it's just formatted differently. Yeah. And the beautiful thing is actually it's all on one page. Like, before you'd like do all your listing and you'd be like, review listing or whatever, and it goes to the second page, which is useless, and you're like, publish listing, and it's like, now it's just all on one page, which is nice. And it's actually nice, the photo uploader is just like on the page, like it's not a pop-up window, it's just like uploading while you're like working on the page. So they have improved it.
It definitely feels more contemporary.
Yes.
Like, it feels
like Etsy.
It feels like, it should be in 2016.
Yeah.
And so that's good for eBay. I did look at some of the stats, and I saw all the stats that people talk about. I mean, there really isn't a lot. I'm saying I want Google Analytics stats where you can really dig down, and its graphs will dynamically change before you. None of that omniture stuff that eBay always tries and sends us to. They don't have that, but they just had some numbers like your sell-through rate. I don't really know what that means. Like, our sell-through rate's like 0.9.
It's like awful.
I don't know what that means.
I don't know.
I hope that they update that kind of stuff. I mean, and then the only other thing I saw was, there's a link that shows like growth. And I guess it shows you how to grow at your store. And basically, it's just like, make your items cheaper. These items are too expensive.
Which is like everything.
Make them a lot cheaper. And it's like, okay, so it's just like a race to the bottom.
Yeah, exactly.
That's for our kind of store, that doesn't work. If we ran like an Amazon-like store where we're just doing retail arbitrage, just everyone just you're competing the same exact item, do the cheapest, and you make it up in bulk. That's not really how our store works, and I feel like eBay isn't really built for us anymore, but we use it anyway. We hack it. This week sales were slower, quieter, but they were steady. Yeah. And we're about to do the numbers, but we did okay. Yeah. And mainly because we've kind of been selling on multiple places now, you know, like,
a little bit in other places.
So it's interesting that helps. Yeah. And plus we had some big sales that helped. But I had a question for you, right? Yes. What's one of the biggest dangers to a scavenger?
Well, the great thing is you put the answer here too on our outline. Yeah. Yes, no, and I agree with this. And so your answer was being too precious about your items. That can be a danger.
I mean, and we only say this because we can struggle with this too. And this is where if you find an item. Yes. And you know, it seems exciting because you can tell it's well made, and you might know it's what it is, but you might not. And then you bring it home, and you're just like, "Oh, this item is the item. Yeah, it's amazing. Right? You know, no one has something like this." Yeah. And then it becomes so precious, you're afraid to list it and sell it because you don't want to underprice it. You know. Yeah, and then you don't want to sell it because you're afraid of underpricing it, right? And someone ripping you off.
Well, it's like, okay,
this could be the $1 million item,
right? That's what I'm saying. Is like you're afraid that you have the most rare X item, someone else snipes it from you for a low price, and then it's in some magazine a month later. Can you believe it? This person bought this on eBay for $20, and it's worth $500,000.
So we're going to walk you through some ways of thinking that I've been going through. Number one is, one thing that helped me was watching Antiques Roadshow. Yes. And we don't, the American one's kind of corny, but
the British one's great.
If you know the internet, you can watch the ones over in England. Yeah. They're a little more fancier.
Refined. They are very fancy. They're very different than Antiques Roadshow in the US.
Okay, the reason why it helps me is because they'll be on this huge, massive estate.
And when you think of estate, this is
like down.
There's
like,
there's a friggin' castle.
Like at Downton Abbey, say there's an expert there in like a beautiful suit, and this old guy comes up and says, "I've had this in my family for 400 years. How much is it worth?" And they put it on a pedestal, and it's this like beautiful, one of a kind, handmade thing. And the guy, like the expert, gives his whole history, and then he's like, "And it's worth 300 pounds, $300. I mean, where it can be so special and so well made, but it doesn't. But
there's no market.
It doesn't mean it's worth $1 million. Yeah, you know. And so, to me, when I see those things, I'm just like, "That's it, $300." Yeah. Like, I mean, I can find like modern, normal kind of stuff that sell for that much. Exactly. You know? So, and I think that's something that I take to heart, is that just because we find something that's really rare doesn't always mean that it's super valuable. Right. Because like Ryan said, there isn't necessarily a market for it, you know? Right,
exactly. I think that's a huge part of it. And we find stuff like that all the time. You're like, this is so... I mean, and you know what? Honestly, that's why a lot of our stuff is priced very high. Right. I have some lamps, as we all know... I'm like, these are the most cool lamps, and I'm like maybe the only one that thinks that. Yeah. Clearly, because I can't sell them.
We have a pair of mid-century lamps. We've talked about it many times. They're up for like $2,000, yes. And we are not going to lower the price. No. We're going to hold on to them.
I'm going to keep them for myself. That's what's going to happen.
But that's the other strategy we have is we do the research. And we just put a strong price on it with make offers. So that kind of covers our butts, you know? Right. We're like, we're not exactly sure how much it's worth, but let's put it up really high with make offer. And then normally, if people do want the item, but it's priced too high, people start sending offers. And, you know, all the offers start being about the same price. And we're like, oh, that's about the price. Yeah. accept.
Right, I'll accept one.
That's what we do.
Exactly.
So we've been struggling with this, or at least I have, is because we've been selling this art on consignment.
I'm struggling with it too, trust me.
We're right in the middle of it. It's added to its death piles, and it's just all this illustration art, and it's all really cool, but it's not something that's easy to, it's research. They aren't signed. It's more about just like a time era, and I'm really struggling with being worried about selling it too cheap.
Right.
But then not putting such a crazy price that it doesn't sell.
That it doesn't sell. Yeah. And the other thing about something like this, like vintage illustration, ad art, books themselves, things like that, it's a niche market. This is not a marketplace that people are like dying to get into. Like, this is a very specialized collector's thing. I mean,
so we actually had a listener write us because we've been listing some of it, and I guess she's sold stuff like this before, or she thinks she would know how to sell it, and she's like, if you go to Manhattan and if you go to this its museum, you can get easy $500 per item. And I'm just like, okay, it's like everyone has an opinion for how much things could be worth if you do X, Y, and Z.
Right.
But at the end of the day, we're sitting at home in rural Virginia, and how do I sell this on the internet?
Right.
And that's kind of what we have to struggle with. The other thing too, just as an added thing with this art we're trying to sell, is that we're selling on consignment. And the illicit and it's forget it a method doesn't really work because the person we're selling it for doesn't want to wait 4 years for this stuff to sell.
Exactly.
So it's kind of really challenging us in kind of a good way.
Right.
Of just like, we got to be on point, for this stuff.
We have to move it. Yeah. But the problem is, that's the huge conundrum. You want to move it. You want to move it quick. You want to do it through auctions so it sells, within a week. And
if you want to have the highest price, it's like, it's hard.
What are you going to do here?
To get crazy. All those things.
Yeah.
I mean, the other thing is too, especially with something like art and we see it happen on our blog. Someone will come on and say, I found this painting.
Yeah.
Should I get it appraised?
Right.
And that's always it's a question for people that have never dealt with this. And in my opinion, getting appraisals is not a good idea.
Now, I just want to say this, though. If you send a photograph to Christie's or Sotheby's,
true,
and if they are interested, they will let you know, and that means you have something.
Right. So what you can do, kind of the way to get around, so it's not a true appraisal. Appraisal is like if you pay some kind of expert
and they
a
tell
fee,
you. Yeah.
And he or she says it's worth $1,000. Now pay me, and they'll give you a certificate. I mean, that's what a true appraisal is. What it's Ryan talking about is kind of a smarter way to do it.
Yeah,
you email these photos to auction houses, that specialize in the kind of art that you're dealing with, and they'll say, yeah, we would love to sell this. We would start it at, we think it would sell for $1,000.
Right. Oh, yeah. And the thing is, if they don't think it's worth anything, they'll tell you.
Right.
And that doesn't,
and that's free.
And it's free. That doesn't mean it's not worth anything, but that's going to help you don't have a Picasso.
Right.
You're not going to lose $1 million. Right.
But I mean, I think the other thing too, and we've talked about this with things like appraisals for, furniture art, fine items. I mean, for the most part, a lot of times they're just doing the same kind of research.
We've seen it done. We've seen it in person at high-end auction houses.
Like
they go and they Google it and they print out the Google.
Right. So
so
if it's valuable to an auction house, it's going to be valuable on eBay too.
Yes.
So
yes.
But take that for what it's worth. Some people I know are going to come on our blog and say, I found a painting once, and I had it appraised at an auction, and it sold for $25,000 back in 1995. Okay,
yes.
Cool. And this is what I want to also say, is that for every item that we might have sold for a lower price, like we undervalued it, and we could have sold it more, we've sold 100. We've sold 500 items for twice as much as regular people couldn't get,
Right.
So I think in the law of averages, we come out way ahead.
Exactly.
And then the last thing I'll say is just, when if you find a cool item, you just have to make the choice. The research involved can be an adventure. Like that first painting we ever bought at an auction.
Right.
It was like from the early 1900s. It was signed. It was like an oil painting. We didn't know a lot about it. We bought it for $400,
which was a lot. That's the highest we ever.
Yeah, $400 is a lot for us now, but back then it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Because we were thinking this could be worth $10,000.
Yeah, because it was a known artist,
and it became an adventure. We found the grandson
who was the collector of the
we contacted him. He invited us to his fancy house in
Georgetown,
DC, and he showed us all of his other grandfather's paintings.
It's incredible.
And we were hoping we could sell it to him, and he wasn't interested, and we put it in an auction, and we made $400.
We made exactly how much we paid for it.
And actually less because they took out fees.
Yeah,
but
I think he bought it. It was a phone bid.
Oh, yeah.
I think he bought it.
It could be.
So
but the thing is, at the end of the day, it was an adventure for us.
Yeah, it was incredible.
And the other thing, and one time we bought in a box lot a camera.
Yeah, it's called a Rolleiflex.
Right.
It's a vintage medium format film camera. And if you get the correct Rolleiflex, they're cheaper ones. They can sell for over $1,000.
Right, and so it was an adventure. We went to Charlottesville, about an hour and a half away, and we had it fixed.
And the guy took photos
right.
and gave me the negatives.
And he was an old school camera guy, and we got to ask him questions. And we spent a whole day doing that, and we sold it for $900. Yeah.
Now we bought it for the box lot for $100. There was stuff in it that we sold. Probably made the money back there.
Right.
And then we spent $130 on fixing it. Because a lot of people will ask you, does it have light leaks? Does it work?
Right.
And if you want $1,000 for it,
right.
you got to get it fixed.
But part of that is just the adventure. And
yeah,
so
that
it was
an adventure.
It was a fun day. And so I just throw out there is that if you find something really cool, if you want to do as research on it, you've got to think of it as an adventure, and that's a fun thing to do, not like you're losing money because it's taking time to figure things out.
Right.
Because it might be fun to find the expert of this item at a local college and go to that person and just hear stories and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's it. I have on
that's it.
Being precious. Ultimately, it's for us, our success comes on. We pretty quickly make a choice of a price, and we just sell the thing, and we just keep moving forward.
Right.
Okay, enough chit-chat. We're going to talk about our numbers for this week.
All right, let's get into it.
Okay.
Numbers, go.
As Ryan hasn't heard this yet, so it's new to
I know,
him.
I'm excited.
On our main store.
We had someone call in that says, I like hearing Jay say the flagship store.
The flagship junk store.
Yes.
We sold 22 items.
Good.
For a total of about $1,400. A little bit more. It could be more because it's not the end of the day. But
okay, but I do want to note your cost of items sold because a lot of that was commission.
And so cost of items was about $300 because
Right.
we sold quite a few, or not quite a few, but 3.
Yeah.
Our average price was about $64.
Wow.
Because like I said, we didn't sell a whole lot. It was steady, but we sold a good number of kind of high dollar, over $100 items.
Yeah.
Which is nice. We had one return. We spent $20 on inventory. That's the thing that's been great. We just haven't really been spending inventory. And we listed 20 items in that store.
Whoa, only 20.
Yeah. Okay. And on Bonanza, we made $90 this week.
Yay!
Not as much as we did last week, I guess, because of the turbo traffic. But again, if we sell anything on, it's like a bonus.
Yeah, it's just it's a bonus. I wish the bonus was $400 a week, but
we have stuff for sale on Amazon. It's merchant fulfilled. It never sells. We didn't sell anything this week.
Never
okay,
sells.
Our second eBay store. We sold 7 items. Actually, we sold 2 of them right as we were talking here, so I just had to update the numbers. And we sold $528 worth of stuff. So
yeah.
$530. So overall, we made we made about $2,100.
Good, I love that.
Which again,
number.
I don't know how this happens, but $2,100 is what I love. That's but divided by 7 days, that's about $300 a day.
That's our goal.
And that's our goal on eBay, you know. In the summer times, we're not making $300 a day, but like during this time of year, and I don't know how that works. Like, it's so amazing how it's all just random stuff up. There's some kind of weird, I don't know.
It's so random. I know.
I'm glad, you know, we can't, in some ways, like I said, I pat ourselves on the back because we've done the work. But at the same time, I feel helpless because, I mean, I don't know why people bought from us, but they did.
But they did, thank God.
Okay, things we sold.
Okay, so you guys are going to see some of these in the video. You probably saw some of them in the video last week. We sold a lot of 16 solid brass, high-end Baldwin brand brass hinges.
For $300.
For $300.
You always got to do that. You got to always tell people how much you sell.
I was getting there.
Then you break it down.
You jumped the gun. So I think we bought this a lot. It was 16. I think we bought it for like $10.
Yep. Because we thought we might use them on some house projects, but then we realized how fancy they were.
Yeah, on Amazon, you can look these up, and some of them cost like $20+ each per hinge. Not a pack of them.
Right.
Per hinge.
And we actually sold them to a guy overseas on
in
the
global
UK shipping program.
Yeah, global shipping program.
He must have paid with the global shipping prices like crazy money.
I don't know, because these things weighed like 10 pounds by themselves, you know? So I was thrilled. $300 sale. That's great. Another sale that happened today. Now, this is cool. This is a set of like wrought iron, like hand wrought iron fireplace tools. There's like a broom, a shovel, a little like poker thing, and like another thing with a stand. And it sold for $250. And the great thing is, this was something from the new rental house. We gave away almost everything in the rental house for free. But we kept a few assorted pieces of artwork and some fireplace tools and stuff to sell. Basically, I want to make back our closing fees on the house.
Yeah, which we'll do. I mean, we brought home like a carload of stuff. But yeah, I don't know if we talked about this. We had put it on Craigslist like free. And I think we talked about this, yeah.
Oh, how we like put on a whole house for free, like the contents of a whole house for free.
And so a woman emailed us. We said come by, and she brought like her daughter and kids, and they brought like a trailer. And
they took everything.
And they took everything. It's great. I mean, they took a lot of junky stuff, but
they did get a fridge and a stove that were clean.
Yeah, I mean, and these were like a lower end. They worked. They're fine, but to us, it's like things that you could buy on Craigslist for $75.
Well, and the great thing was they had friends that ran a cabin down the street, and the guy said, our oven in our cabin hasn't worked for years. And we're like, great, please take this one, because
on their website
crazy.
They say our oven doesn't work. Instead of buying a new
oven
stove,
for $50 on Craigslist.
Anyway, but so that's cool. We sold another, strangely enough, first edition in Alcoholics Anonymous book for $299.
$300 for that book.
We sold one the other week. It's just a coincidence, and this actually is one on consignment.
Yeah.
And we actually, in this case, we put ours as one of the highest prices, and it sold within a week.
Now, there were some that were a different color book cover that were higher. They were like $500, $600. And they had a green cover and we had a blue cover. But for the blue covers, ours was one of the highest.
Right. You know, and this is just one of those more rare books. It's like they only had a limited number of printings.
Yeah.
Something we sold overnight. It was nice to wake up to this. We sold 3 pillows.
Throw pillows.
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 That you would put on a couch, like lean up against
for $70.
Yeah.
And again, these are things that I started gravitating towards.
Yes.
They're these random things to buy when you're at an estate sale or at an auction,
right.
You know? I mean, nice ones go for a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you go on Pottery Barn or Crate and Barrel or West Elm right now and look up throw pillows, you're going to be like, Jesus.
Especially if it's like a feather. A feather pillow.
All 3 of these were goose down filled.
Right.
These are high quality pillows.
But I found, though, that when we would go to estate sale or auctions that, you know, like these kinds of housewares, because we consider this like housewares.
houseware,
It's
yeah.
like decorating housewares.
Yeah.
They're not obvious things for people to buy, so they get
Right.
put aside.
People just look at it as junk. That's just
like
junky.
who cares? You know, like the pillows went with this couch. The couch is now gone, but the pillows are still nice.
Yeah.
So we've been buying these when we see them for $1 or $2 each, and
if you go to a bag sale at a thrift store and you see some nice throw pillows, just throw them in your bag.
Yep.
You know. So that was $70 for 3 of them. That was awesome. Another thing we sold this week for a high dollar was $125 for a Wilson cell phone booster.
this is all you.
So we got this at a thrift store. It was all complete, like all the pieces were together. There's an antenna, the actual booster, a plug, and like something else. And so we were able to get all the pieces together, and I looked up cell phone boosters, and this was in one of our piles of death. So we were just like, is this junk? Should we give it away? And I looked them up, Wilson cell phone booster. I'm like, these sell for over $100.
Yeah. And this is where, I mean, again, I say it's all a you, because when we go to a thrift store, I've noticed that you've been gravitating towards, there'll be those bins or boxes full of just tangled wires. It's like chargers and phones, and it's a lot of it's just junk, and you'll go in there and pull out the pieces that are actually kind of cool.
I try to pull out the ones that have a brand name, because a lot of times, like we sold one, it was only for $10.50, but it was a PSP charger, and you're like, someone probably got a PSP at a yard sale or something, and they need the charger.
And normally it's all like 25 cents. But this happened to be in that big tangle of chargers, because, whoever runs the thrift store just thought it was just another
It's just junk
charger thing. And so
so that was a good sale.
Okay, customer issues this week.
Okay, so this was a real bummer, and I kind of blame myself for it. We had a pop-up sink drain that we bought, new in box, but it didn't have this like little mounting plate for going on the
open
sink.
box.
It was an open box, yeah.
And this is kind of the danger of, it's kind of like retail arbitrage. We used a stock photo of the item. Right. And it had the
mounting ring.
And so, because, we're like, cool, we can just put it up and not have to take pictures. And, but because we showed it had that thing, we couldn't then not say that it wasn't our fault.
Exactly. So the guy messaged us, and this sucked. He was like, I'm getting my sink installed tomorrow with my contractor.
Can you send it to me?
Yeah, please send me the mounting ring overnight. And we're like, dude, we don't
basically,
have it.
I went into action.
Yes.
And I said, I feel your pain.
Yes, you were very nice.
We've renovated houses. I understand what you're going through. We do not have this piece for you.
Yeah.
But what I will do is I'll give you a full refund with the shipping, and then you go to this store.
Ferguson's Plumbing.
It's like a plumbing store, and they're all over the place, but it's where plumbers go to.
Yeah.
And I bet that him or his plumber could buy a
mounting ring
that was close to the color. And he was like, cool, thanks.
And it was $30 plus shipping, so it was like $36.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things where you're like, we know we screwed up, because I should have made sure that piece was there, or you have to know if it's complete or not. And you need to say that, or you need to not sell it.
Yeah, but we took it could have been
it could have been bad. He could have been really mad. And you know what? The good thing is Jay's really good at neutralizing.
Thank you very much.
I haven't even said what you're good at. You're good at neutralizing the situation. Like, the guy was like, oh, thank you for, number one, responding so quickly, and number two, being so professional.
Being professional. Yes. Okay.
Okay, this also sucks.
We also sold a poster, and the guy kept telling us, I really want this in good shape. And we're like, yeah, it's in great shape. And then when you went to go and sell it, there's a little tiny stain on the edge.
Yes. Yeah, so this sucked, because he kept saying that before he paid, when he paid. I hope it's in good shape. I hope it's in good shape. And I was getting so paranoid about it, because when people say that, you're like, they're going to look at every corner of this thing. So I did that before I shipped in. I was like, there's a mark that you can't see on the photos. So I sent him a picture of it, and I was like, basically...
Are you still interested?
Are you still interested?
And so he said, can you knock down any money? And he paid $100. I was like, I'll give you $10
Yeah.
Or we'll just refund you totally. He was like, okay, that's fine.
$10. He took $10.
Because, I also said that it will get covered up if he
frames it. And we had already discounted the price from like $150 or something.
We had it's returned a holster that we sold a week ago. It's strange. The buyer got it. He gave us good feedback, and he said, like, this holster is great. It's just what I've been trying to find.
But it doesn't fit.
No, he didn't say that in the feedback.
Oh,
in the feedback, he was like, this is great. And so I was like, cool, it's done. Then he messaged us a day later and said, oh, it doesn't fit. I'm returning it. I mean, it's no sweat. He's going to pay its restocking fee. He understands that.
Right.
Whatever. I will say, so far this year, it's January 9th, we have not gotten the huge number of its returns that we normally do during the holidays, where people get gifts or they get things and then they open them and then they want to return them.
Yeah.
Part of me thinks it's because we have not been selling very many jackets, like clothes and shoes.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if that
those
has
are
to
big
do with
return items. Yeah,
I don't know
exactly. So I wanted to go on a little rant. This is not a customer issue, but it's a shipping issue. So something I've been loving lately for big bulky items that are going far away is FedEx Smart Posts.
And that's something that we learned from people in the comments.
Yes.
People in the comments turned us on to
Smart Posts.
And so we thank people.
Because you can, on eBay, okay, so when you're shipping stuff through labels, there's a little logo that's like USPS. If you click on that logo, you can change it to FedEx. Or if you had it on there as FedEx Smart Post, it's just going to automatically show you FedEx. So here's an issue, right? If you go online, FedEx.com/SmartPost or whatever, one of the things they say is, we'll ship to P.O. boxes, because regular FedEx and regular UPS, the private people, they will not ship to P.O. boxes, because that's the post office. But Smart Post is cool because they give it the last mile to the post office, so they will ship to post office boxes. But, okay, here's where it gets nerdy. eBay's system automatically does not let you ship FedEx if it's a P.O. box, because they're like, FedEx doesn't ship to P.O. boxes. And then in your head you're saying, but Smart Post does, so show me only Smart Post prices. It won't let you do that. So somebody in the eBay forums had a brilliant workaround, because it's legal. You're supposed to be able to do it. eBay's system, I will say, is flawed. You should be able to print this for P.O. boxes. But they said this, and it worked for me this morning, so I was very happy. So what you do is you go in and you change their address. Instead of it saying P.O. box, you type in post office ... as if it's supposed to say box, and then their post office box number. It will let you go into FedEx. You don't want to send it FedEx ground, because it'll get sent back to you or lost or whatever. You want to only do Smart Post. So what you do is, when you print out your Smart Post label, right in where you said ... basically you're making like a little place for yourself to write box. Post office box number 167. And it allows you to print the label. So that is a brilliant workaround.
And that won't get mailed back to you?
It shouldn't, because what's going to happen is, in that post office district, FedEx is handing it to the post office, and now the post office is supposed to sort it and send it like they normally do with a P.O. box thing. And the other annoying thing that I find with FedEx is that a lot of times, even if it's going to a warehouse or a business, they don't let you uncheck this is a residence, which is really annoying, because you're like, this is clearly a warehouse, or clearly a business and not a regular little house. So that's annoying, because for FedEx Ground, they charge you a surcharge for residences. So it's annoying that you're like, this isn't a residence. So I wish that could get fixed. That's my rant. That's my advice.
But
that's it.
Ultimately, though, it's good to see when people just do a workaround and just make it work, and who cares? Like,
yeah, it works. It's supposed to work that way.
So in some news,
News.
So-
Do-do-do-do-do.
Someone contacted us. He started a new site called vango.com.
Van Gogh with an E at the end.
So vangoe.com.
Yes.
And, you know, the guy was nice, the guy that started it, and there's like a video of him, and he's like a gentleman who's like been selling on eBay for a long time, and he's a collector, and he looked like a good guy. And
Yeah.
he and I guess whoever else created the site to be a competitor to eBay.
Right.
But, you know, it's just like all these others. It's like Bonanza.
Right.
The cool thing is, like, their rules or the fees, it's almost like old school eBay.
Yeah.
Like, the fees are lower.
Yeah.
You can have duplicates. Like,
Yeah.
so supposedly it's not about, like, hammering you, a seller. Like, it's supposed to be pro you.
Right. Pro
us.
seller. Yeah.
The thing that got me, that was interesting, was I asked him, do you have an eBay importer?
Right.
And he says, why, yes, we do.
And that's the best.
And that's what we like. That's why we like Bonanza.
Yeah.
Because then it doesn't really cost us anything.
Yeah.
I will put a link to this on our blog and to their eBay importer, and you
Yeah.
can import your whole eBay store.
Right. It's super easy. But the issue is, and this is why I actually love Bonanza, Bonanza syncs live, and now Bonanza ends items on eBay.
Right.
Van Gogh does not do that yet.
Right. So, you know, they're just beginning a
Yeah.
website. Maybe they'll figure it out. I don't know how Bonanza can even do that. It's so weird why eBay would allow a competitor
I don't know.
access to someone's eBay store to, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, but Van Gogh doesn't do that. So if something does sell on Van Gogh, then we'll have to, go over
We'll have to
there.
end it. But the other thing is, if it sells on eBay, you have to go end it on Van Gogh
That's
also.
fine. Yeah. I mean, you know, God, it's like we say, I hope it's that annoying. You know, I
Sure.
hope we sell so much. I mean, who knows if we'll sell anything on the site, but
we
you
thought
know.
we'd try it. You have an eBay importer? I'll try it.
Yeah, so if any site has an eBay importer,
I'll do it.
I'll go for it. You know, that's a smart.
Well, the
way to
thing
do
is,
it.
you've already done the work.
Right.
That's my issue with Etsy. I've already done the work, and I know people are like, it doesn't take that long to copy and paste. I'm like, it takes long enough that I've only put 30 items up.
Yeah,
You know?
right. It's just, I mean, it's for us. Time is the most important thing,
Yes.
and just if something's going to take more time, I mean, there needs to be a direct causality of profit, you know,
Yes.
for the time we put into it. I mean, it's for us, just like eBay seems to work for us. But if someone can suck in those eBays, it's almost then you're
Yeah.
multiplying the benefits that you get from that one time
Right.
putting it on eBay. I also just want to mention this week, a couple days ago, we put up our interview with Martin from GarbageFinds.com.
Martin!
And, you know, he's a guy in Montreal.
Yeah.
That,
Canada.
Yep, that Canada. It's the only one. And he actually, I mean, he's like a true scavenger.
Yeah.
He gets all of his inventory that he sells online out of the garbage. You know, he's not
It's all free.
like, he's not going to thrift stores. He's not
He's
going to
dedicated.
estate sales. He's like going at nighttime, he says,
Yeah.
into people's neighborhoods, going through people's trash.
I mean-
and he's finding gold and
I mean, gold
art
teeth.
and, you know,
Look,
paintings.
he's not like a timid scavenger like some people are in the trash. He's not just like, where's the box of stuff that they want to give away? He's opening garbage bags and going
And
through
so,
it.
you know, we got into it. You know, I interviewed him a year and a half ago, so it's kind of an update. And, you know, and we had talked about some things that,
Yes.
you know, he's improved upon. He's becoming a seller, too.
Yes.
He's got a great blog where he takes pictures every week of things he finds.
beautiful.
It's incredible. But, you know, what's interesting is I think that he's not just a random scavenger. You know, he's going through and he kind of can tell which houses are either
Yeah.
being cleaned out. I think he says he looks in the paper to see where estate sales are, so it goes after they're done and goes in those trash.
Yeah.
You know, and he can kind of tell, I guess, by the way trash is piled up.
Yeah.
Whether if it's just, you know, a couple bags of household garbage or if there's like 20 bags, it's probably someone's cleaning something out.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
you know, it's good. And then, so I think this week we might try and post the interview with Dan O'Neill from NY Vintage.
NY Vintage. Yes.
And those of you who are keeping up, he's the one who says he doesn't measure clothing.
It's just
And people are
so
like,
controversial.
"What?"
Yeah, it's so funny.
But what's also interesting about him is that him and his wife have full-time jobs. he actually hires out all the photographing of it, and now he's actually trying to hire out people to list for him too, and he pays per
listing,
not which
by
is
the
interesting.
Hour.
And he seems, he's a super organized guy, and he seems to be making it work. So you can kind of hear his him and his wife how they approach this. They're really cute. And now, what do you think our coming week is going to be like? Ryan, go. Okay, what's your week like?
I can see it now. I see it now.
What do you see?
I see piles of artwork surrounding me, falling in on my couch.
Seriously, how many folders do you think are unlisted right now?
I can tell you right now. Oh, look, I have it open. Good. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4.5. Plus, I have to edit some photos.
So each folder has about 20 to 30 items in it. Right. So you have 4. Okay. So that's good.
It's not bad. But the thing about art is, it's auctions mostly. So I have to really be researching prices for that.
And me, it's doing photographs and writing descriptions and titles. And the way I do it is because, like as Ryan says, we've kind of forced this stuff on ourselves. So we have it in our house. It's in our face. We're having to walk over it. Yeah. It's got to be annoying for us to give our full attention. And it's my thing is like, I'm going to do that corner. Then I'm going to do that corner. And so I'm arranging things where I put things in my way. So I take care of it. So I clean it up.
Yeah. So that's what I'm doing. That is real.
Okay, so let's answer the questions that people have either emailed or called in about.
And you can always call us with a question or a comment on something you heard or saw or anything. The phone number is 540-407-8486.
Hi, Jay and Ryan. This is Jen in West Virginia again. I just had a really funny scavenging story I thought I'd share. My husband works for a company that they have a lot of, it would be very confusing to most people about the rules of what can be worn on certain days, but we've got a handle on it. And we have found so many uniform shirts at a thrift store. And his boss has been at the company for over 25 years, and he actually has some uniform shirts that his boss has never seen because we found them at a thrift store. Well, we had recently found a really nice coat. Like, to buy this new, it would have been $75 or $100, and it's company approved for wearing at any time during the workday. Well, he went into work yesterday wearing it, and his boss gave him this look like, I don't believe you. And she's like, where did you find that? And he's like, a thrift shop, $5. And then he added, actually, my wife found it. And his boss said, she's such a turd. So I just thought that was funny, and we're actually talking as many uniform shirts as we can find at thrift stores. Him doing a gift at Christmas time of a whole bunch of work shirts for the company gift exchange, and I think it would be a hit, and he does too, because to buy new uniform shirts, it's at least $10 each. So anyway, I just thought I would share that story with you because I thought it was fun. Okay. This call is ending in 3, 2, 1. Bye.
That is a very cool story. I think it's fun to be able to find rare stuff like that at thrift stores.
It's like in our small town, I know Ryan often finds these kind of like, not rare, but like vintage T-shirts that are about local things, like the local high school or elementary school.
I wear them too.
And she wears them. And so when we're in like the grocery store, people are like, did you go to that school back then?
Yeah, they're like, I was a teacher there for 30 years and I don't recognize you. And I'm like, no, I got it at the thrift store.
I just think it's a cool.
I just think it looks cool.
Hipster kind of thing to wear.
So yes, I do. I love that story that that the boss kind of did a double take. Like, what? How'd you find that?
Hi guys, how are you? One question today, and then one totally unrelated comment. Question is, sometimes I'll find myself picturing an item, and I develop like this OCD coma where I come out of it, and somehow I've taken 17 pictures for an item I'm selling for like $24, and I'm like, what am I doing? My partner has always been like, look, keep it to 6 pictures for the love of Christ. But, it's a bit of a mess. Sorry if I offended anybody with the Christ thing, but I'm an atheist, so what do I care? Anyway, there I go offending more people. So my question to you is, do you find yourself taking different, like a limited number of pictures for items that aren't as much as opposed to items that are more? And if so, do you have a particular formula for it, or is it kind of more like a flow thing? I'm trying to stick to no more than 6 pictures for items under a certain amount of money, but I find myself still going overboard, and it's just really annoying. So I just wondered what your thoughts were on that. Second thing is, for anyone who is using the Affordable Care Act, I have the Silver plan, and the carrier that I used said basically, if you like the plan you have, do nothing, you'll have the same plan. Well, come to find out, the representative said to me, oh, well, you have the same plan name, but yeah, we changed the benefits, and that wasn't even mentioned in the letter that they sent to me. So I got healthcare.gov on the line with the carrier. Everything was worked out rather smoothly because they were basically told that they couldn't do that, so they fixed it. So for those thinking that the Affordable Care Act is an evil thing, come on, people, come into the light. It's time to evolve. And I actually found healthcare.gov to be very helpful. And there are also ways that you can design your taxes so that you fall within what I call the sweet spot of the Affordable Care Act. You just have to think about these things. In any event, that's my question that I had before, and thanks for the time.
So, Jay, do you ever find yourself so here's the deal. Let me just start by saying this. We only use the eBay number of photos now. It's 12 photos. I don't put stuff. If you take more than 12 photos, I'm deleting those. Okay. So just so you know.
She only picks the best 12.
I'm like, where am I going to put these extra ones?
Now, how about if an item's really expensive? Don't you do the extra benefit and
if you've taken more photos.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. But you're actually pretty good at keeping it to 12 or less.
Okay,
now.
fine. It's my turn. So when I'm taking photos, I'm not counting photos. I think I'm a bit like her. I mean, where I just kind of get into it. Sometimes I get OCD and I just I want to get all these angles and there's all these cool details. But 12 photos is a lot of photos.
Yeah.
But her point is, so if something's only worth $24, why take 12 photos? Why not just take 6? But to me, I mean, how can you think like that? I take the amount of photos that I need to take. And even if it's only worth $24, if those 12 photos are needed, go for it. It doesn't take that much. I mean, does it take a lot of time?
Doesn't take much extra time.
So, I take those photos and then I hand them off.
Yeah.
What do you have to do to...
Well, I edit, so I crop if needed, but that's minimal and very fast.
Because, thank you very much, I'm a very good photographer.
Okay, as long as things aren't out of focus. Yeah, and then, it's all about just uploading that many photos. And look, if there are 15 photos, I'll see if there was something... duplicate. You kind of duplicated this photo.
I don't edit myself, so sometimes I'll take the same angle 3 times because I'm not getting the right whatever.
And I'll take the best one.
But I will say this too. I mean, sometimes when we do a lot of photos for a $24 item, it's because that item would normally only sell for $10.
Right.
So we're actually wanting the high end of this particular item that might be $24, but in order to get that high end price, we have to do a lot more photos, and that's why someone will buy from us for $24 instead of $10, because a $10 one is someone just threw it on the ground, took a couple pictures, and then just threw it up.
So here's an example. We will sometimes sell books on eBay, and the reason we can get a higher price on eBay than on Amazon is a lot of times we're taking pictures of, number one, the actual book, the front, the back, the spine, the copyright date, and some of the pages. So you're like, oh, I definitely see the condition. I definitely see the illustrations. This is very cool. as opposed to, Amazon, which just has like a scan of someone else's book or whatever. So, it's things like that where you're like, I could just take one picture of a book, but instead I'm going to take like 8.
Right.
And that's why I can get a higher price for the book.
I mean, I think as soon as we make a decision to list an item, we're going to treat the $24 item just as well as the, $2,000 item.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Right, exactly.
If I don't think something is worth it, then we're just not going to even put it up.
Right.
But we can't lower the quality on our listings just because of the price. And then her other point about the Affordable Care Act, about Obamacare. I mean, number one is getting health care now is the law. Whether or not you agree with it or not, it's happened, it's done. You have to have health care or else you're going to pay a penalty at the end of the year.
Right.
But healthcare.gov was good for us. I mean, just to be very clear, is you aren't buying insurance through the government. The government has just created a website so you can compare individual private insurance.
Right.
So it's not a big government takeover. And, and again, the whole point is at the end of the day, people are like, I don't want to have to get insurance. Man, as soon as someone gets cancer or gets in a car accident and chops off their arm, then suddenly they want all the care that they can get. And, they don't have insurance. And so we all end up paying for it anyway. So, the whole point of it is just, that we all pay a little bit every month so we all get covered. So if something, God forbid, happens to any of us,
you're covered.
Like there's a system and we're all paying into it. And that's what it's like to live in a society,
Ask the people in the UK. There are people in the UK listening. And you probably think we live in some third world country because this is just started. And the UK has had it for 3 generations, and they're laughing at us. Yeah. They're like, what? You're crazy.
We don't get into politics. I'm not trying to get into politics, but just as a scavenger, as an independent business owner, we really appreciate the ability to go and get affordable health care.
Absolutely.
And as I'm getting a little bit older,
you need to have it.
Cancer could happen. And so now I'm not ever waking up in the middle of the night being afraid that we would lose everything if I got cancer.
Exactly. Okay, I do want to preface this next call in saying the beginning of his call was breaking up a lot, but I think we get the gist of what he was saying.
Hey, Jane Ryan. Jacob Castillo calling from Washington State. I don't really have a question, but I just kind of wanted to call and information. Airline first officer, so don't really make that great of money. And although I thought this was going to be a dream job, it turned out really not to be. It's not as glamorous as I thought it was going to be. Spend a lot of time on the road in hotels alone, and the pay's not that great. Just a little north of $30,000 a year, so it kind of sucks. Anyway, I've been kind of selling on eBay recreationally for the past 5 years. Maybe 15, 20 things a year, just kind of selling stuff around the house. I found your podcast probably about a year ago. Been listening ever since. I've been meaning to call in. But anyway, just wanted to let you know that I've decided to try to get out of the airline industry. I've been selling on eBay now, kind of taking it seriously the last few months, and it's really been starting to pick up. I'm going to kind of try to get out of the airline industry and move in to maybe some local flying and really pick up the eBay business. It's kind of hard. Airline tells you where you're going to be, when you're going to be there. You don't really have any choice of what's going on. And I listen to you guys' podcast, and it sounds like something that I wanted to do. And I've been doing it. I've been selling. I made over $600 of profit last month. And that's just doing it on a very, very part-time basis. So that kind of got me excited, if I put a few more hours in a week, what's this going to get up to? And I've been on my days off sourcing stuff, and it's kind of slow right now in winter, but I really do think it's gonna pick up. And just listening to your guys' podcast, kind of a breath of fresh air. There's a lot of negativity going around about eBay and online selling, but come back, listen to your podcast, and like, okay, people are doing it, and it's working, and there are slow times. And anyway, I just kind of wanted to call and let you guys know that you guys kind of given me some inspiration to go after and do this, knowing that people are doing it and it is working for people. And anyway, just wanted to let you know. And also, I kind of like Jay's wording of the flagship store. Anyways, have a good one. Bye.
Cool. So we love hearing these kind of stories about kind of like how other people are. I mean, it's so strange. I don't know how we all find each other. I mean, how do you you got this life and, school taught you that to look at the world in a certain way, and then each of us figured out I don't want that.
I don't want to do that.
Can I sell stuff online and make a living?
Yeah.
And somehow we find each other, So
amazing.
I mean, it's interesting. We've heard from the people who are nurses.
Yep.
They get into eBay. We heard from some people that were travel attendants,
flight attendants.
So it's interesting. Now we're hearing from a pilot.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we can all be unhappy with the work we're doing, and so it's nice that there's options now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's cool, And like we always say, whatever work that you do, if you're unhappy, if you put the same amount of time, 40 hours into selling online for your own business, you'll most likely do okay.
Yeah.
Hello, fellow scavengers. This is Shane from Michigan. I was just calling in reference to the perhaps over-discussed topic of finding the eBay store. It's an interesting point. You could always buy a domain name and have it forward to your store if you had planned in some time in the future to split off of eBay. Maybe if you are a very kind of specialty niche kind of product seller, and someday you hope to get away and start your own web store. It might be worthwhile to go to GoDaddy and just kind of forward a website to your store page, which you can do. Just to make it easier for people. But that, for most of us that are just kind of selling random things, it doesn't really seem to be that useful. But I could see it for a specialty of some sort. Just thought I'd add my 2 cents. Thanks.
Yes, a couple people have mentioned this, either using a tiny URL or buying a URL name like on GoDaddy or Google or whatever.
And then just
pointing it, if you're silversmiths, whatever, if you're into doing silver.
Grandma's
silversmiths, or, 1567. So it's a good idea, and it's smart if you want to point your eBay store towards it.
And it's strange to us, the kind of things that people get really passionate about. This whole thing about finding your store name and why people need to, send other people to their store.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. It seems like people really kind of got riled up about that. I just know, for us, I can't remember a single time where in our history of having an eBay account where I felt I needed to send someone to our store directly,
Or because a lot of people, as we always say, email us and say, what's your store? And we will give it to you. We're just emailing you a link.
Yeah.
That's it.
But I mean, if I'm out just at the store.
That's never happened to us,
but
ever.
If you do, that's a smart way to do it.
Yeah.
Hey, Trash Elves. Thanks a lot for your show. I really appreciate all the work that you guys do. And your perspective on life is really interesting. Learned a lot. Thanks a lot. So on to my situation that I want to tell you about. I've been selling on eBay for over 15 years, and I got scammed for the first time, which probably isn't so bad considering the number of years I've been doing it, but it was pretty annoying. But it wasn't for a lot of money, so it's not too bad. So what happened was I sold an Xbox for about $60, and before the guy made the purchase, he contacted me and asked if he can return it if it doesn't work. And I said, sure. So I tested it, and I knew that it worked and everything was fine. But after he had it for a couple of weeks, I got a message saying that it doesn't work and he needs to return it. So I authorized the return. And when it comes back, I find that he returned a different unit. The same system, but it was a different one. I could tell by the markings on it. So I called eBay and asked them what I should do, and they said that I should refund him immediately. I asked them, why should I do that? And they said, because that's just the way it should be done. And after I refund him, I can appeal the case, and then I might be able to have eBay return my monies. So I followed their instructions. I immediately refunded them, and then I called back the next day and asked them if I could appeal it, and they said, well, have you contacted the customer to see if it was maybe a mistake, like he mailed it back incorrectly? And I didn't, because I was pretty sure it was a scam. But anyway, after that, I sent them an email saying, hey, I got the wrong unit back. Did you know you did this? And they didn't reply, so the appeal was closed. So I didn't get anything back. So just wanted to bring that up to you. It seems like the perfect scam. Buy whatever you want and just return something else. Or I even heard of people putting rocks in a box and sending that back. So kind of sucks. Let me know what you guys think of that. Thanks again.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, you know, if you sell on any kind of website long enough, I'm sure something like this will happen. I do notice when I'm in the forums over at Reddit, at the reseller forums there seems to be a larger number of people that sell like video games and electronics and phones.
Yeah.
Complain more about these kind of scams where people will sell a phone and then they get it sent back and it's the same model but it's not the right one.
Right.
I mean, so I don't know if like that electronics lends itself more to people trying to do stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like you're handling it well, but I guess maybe that's just buyer beware kind of thing.
Right.
I just know for the things we sell, it's going to be more unlikely someone's going to try and send us back the same vintage mug or something.
You know, we had electronics sent back to us a couple weeks ago. It was a tape player, and we were afraid of that scam. So I looked at the scratches on the top, because there were some scuffs, and compared it to the photo, and they were exactly the same. And I'm like, if this guy's trying to scam us, he did a perfect job of doing the same scuffs on the top, you know? So, yeah, I mean, it sucks that that's so prevalent.
I mean, it is interesting when we sold that tape player, that dual cassette tape, when he said he was going to, you know, he got the item the same day he got it. He's like, I'm sending it back. It's broken.
We were like,
that was actually something I thought. I'd be like, what if he had the same one and he's sending us back his broken one?
And to get his money back.
It's that didn't turn out that way. But you know, even if it is a total scam, it's not common. And you just deal with it the way you can, but you don't let it slow down the pipeline, you know?
Right.
Don't let one bad sale clog up the pipeline.
Exactly.
Hi, don't know how much time I have here, but I just wanted to introduce myself. My name's Dallas. I live in eastern Pennsylvania. I'm 72 years old. I've been selling online on eBay since 1997. And 95% auctions all that time until April of this year when I opened an eBay store after opening an Etsy store in November of 2014. And now I do almost exclusively buy it nows. And I really wish I would have done this a long time ago this way. Since 97, I have 16,000 plus feedbacks at 100%. And I have a total of about 1,600 items currently running on Etsy and eBay combined. And I probably sell as much on Etsy as eBay as far as units go. Now, eBay items, I tend to list higher priced items and better items on eBay, so the dollar amount is higher on eBay, but the amount of items sold is fairly equal. I do thrift and auctions and antique malls a lot. Currently I have about 1,600 plus items running on Etsy and eBay combined. And I really, like I said, I wish I would have done this store thing a long time ago because it's sure working out better than auctions. And I got to credit you guys with really putting me onto the store thing. And I've listened to quite a few of your podcasts and other people's too. And I just wanted to introduce myself. Thanks, and I'll keep listening. Bye.
Cool. So again, no question, but it's just interesting to hear different people's perspective.
Yep.
It's interesting to hear people who have been selling on eBay, online, and in antique stores for a long period of time. And it's not like this is the way it should have always been, but you know, it just seems like these days doing buy it now is the way to do it, you know.
Yeah.
I'm sure back in the early days, I mean, number one, eBay was only auctions.
Right.
But it sounds like auctions was like a crazy gold rush, but those days are no longer here.
Right.
So that's why it seems buy it now is the way to do it.
It's the way to go, for sure.
But it's good to hear when people, and it's also good to hear when people are willing to change the way they do it. Because God knows we sometimes have a hard time changing the way we do things, and then finally we listen to a logic and we change it, and then things
and it
are
works
better.
Great.
Yeah,
and you're like, just like he was saying, I wish I would have done that a long time ago. Whatever it is, you know, getting rid of a template. I wish I would have done that a long time ago, but I just didn't know.
Hi, Jay and Ryan. My name is Rhonda. I'm calling from Southern California, Orange County. And I've been selling on eBay for getting close to a year now. I have a question for you. I hear a lot of people on YouTube talking about having a niche. And I just wondered what your thoughts are on that. It seems to me that having a niche would limit me tremendously, but I don't know. And I just wondered if you could share your experience with that. Keep up the good work. Thank you so much for being out there for us. Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay. Our thoughts on having a niche.
I mean, if you've heard us, we're not the niche people, you know, we're the general store people.
Yeah.
Because, you know, like when you scavenge, you're going out into the wide world and you never know what you're going to find. So if you have a good open mind, you could find anything.
Yeah.
And if you're willing to sell anything, that's where the profit is, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to limit yourself. I mean, we did limit ourselves in the beginning to clothes and shoes, and clothes and shoes sell great. I mean, they are good sellers. They're easy to store and pack and list. But, you know, once we started expanding into housewares and art and lamps, number one, it was more interesting. It was more fun. And we sold things for a lot higher, you know, prices.
Yeah, I mean, there are three things here. If you have a niche, it can get boring.
Yeah.
And then if you get bored, then you get burnt out. And if you get burnt out, then you aren't selling anymore and you aren't making any more cash.
Right.
So it's for us, that was one reason. Number two, you know, some people might want to sell a niche just because that's just what they're interested in.
Right. They just want to do coins.
They love little dainty vintage teacups. Like that's just what they want to do. They love coins and they love numerology and like that's what they want to do. They're never going to get bored, and that's what their love is, and that's cool.
Yeah.
When I see people who are like coaches, eBay coaches and stuff like that, I often just wonder. I would always ask to see their stores, because sometimes, I don't know, I feel like people are giving advice and they don't really have the numbers to back it up.
Yeah.
So, you know, if someone's saying I sell niche full time, I would just always ask, well, let me see
your numbers.
Like, are you selling full time income or are you selling like 2 things a week? You know.
Yeah.
So when you take advice from people, just make sure it's you know, the advice that is going to help you in the way you do things. That's why we put up our numbers every week, just so you kind of know where we're coming from.
Exactly. Thanks for all the calls.
Yep. So that's it for this week. Yeah, that was quite a thing. This whole podcast here.
You were right. It was a thing. It's always a thing.
But we got it out. Okay. So everything we talked about, links, you can find at scavengerlife.com. And that's where we also have a whole conversation afterwards. So you can come, ask questions. There's a whole group of smart people who we learn from who will answer its questions.
You can leave a question or a comment on our voicemail line, just like you heard. The phone number again is 540-407-8486.
Okay, we post an episode every Sunday night or Monday morning. On Wednesdays, we post our What Sells videos, so you can actually see what we have sold and how much we sold it for.
Yes.
You can subscribe to us through iTunes or through YouTube, either one, so that way you get the latest update. We also have another podcast, which you can listen to if you want to keep hearing our voices, over at shampooandbooze.com.
That is where we talk about our Airbnb business.
Yep. that we're building through our eBay profits.
Yes.
So we just put up a new episode over there as well. And if you want to rent our farmhouse and even meet us, there'll be a link over there. We're always looking for new people to rent.
That's right.
Okay, this podcast is now ending in 3 and 2 and 1.
Bye.